And before we run over to the after-movie diner with our pants ablaze and pound on the door for Mildred to come on over and settle the fire with some enormous milkshake, we just have time to bring you some late-breaking headlines. Do try and be careful with the headlines, Gerald. They're meant to be breaking, not broken. Understood. Well, get on with it, man. Sorry, Alan. Jesus. Ugh. Famous Grammy-nominated monkey juggling act and barely sober musical quartet Ernest Brillo and his wind-up hedge orchestra went on the run this afternoon after he told authorities by screaming out the back window of a moving truck and over the sound of some very loud maracas that he believed the Canadians had plans to cut him up and sell his various parts to a butter consortium from Finland who placed the highest bid in an effort to saving their workforce from eating all the butter. But as the authorities, who do not wish to be named but did say we could refer to them as the Department of Cool Danger, but we've understandably decided not to, couldn't hear over the din of the South American percussion and roar of the truck's engines, Ernest could, as one man was quoted as saying, have been giving us the recipe to moussaka for all we know or care. Ernest's fiancée, drebbing whip-bursting, is missing, presumed shacked up with a zebra in an animal brothel in Minsk. And after passing a bill requiring anyone who earns under $35,000 a year to stand out on their lawn in a rough Hessian sack and allow neighbouring toffs to pelt them with rotting fruit, animal feces or raw egg every other Thursday till they either damn well earn more money or die, government today closed early and the politicians could be seen running out, guffawing, eating ice cream, agreeably touching each other's naughty bits, and the leader of the opposition even took a bath in crisp hundreds. Many media outlets missed this story entirely, however, as celebrity stripper, mother of 10 and everyone's favourite killer of seals, Beulah Kavakian, still reeling from the press coverage of her misspelling the word brick, today exited her house in a slightly short skirt and drove away in a very expensive car indeed with a man that most photographers couldn't quite work out. Although speculation is rife that it wasn't her boyfriend of 10 years, Mellard Dunkington Pring, but instead her greased-up Latino co-star on their late-night contest programme, tapping your head and rubbing your belly, Ramon Banana. When questioned as to the importance of this, one newsman responded quickly, sucking the drool back between his lips, well, you could almost see her bum. And now it's time for this week's episode of everyone's favourite excuse to invite the family over, boil an enormous ham, and see who can finish it before the whole sorry programme comes to its normally insane musical conclusion, the After-Movie Diner, which this week is brought to you by the number P, the letters 7 and hashtag, and by the word botty.
This is Linnea, and you're listening to the After Movie Diner.
Which is an understandable reaction from most of our listeners. Hello! Yes, you are listening to the After Movie Diner. Thanks very much, Linnea, quickly for that introduction. And this week's episode is absolutely fantastic. Well, look, every week's episode is fantastic, but this week's episode, I don't know, man. I think we've really hit something here. And the whole reason for that is because of our absolutely phenomenal and fantastic guest, none other than Fred the Hammer Williamson. Yes, the iconic action star of the last, count them, 4.5 decades. Yes, this man has been on top. He's an absolutely phenomenal actor, writer, producer, director, and we're very, very honoured to have him on the show this week. So that'll be coming up in just a few minutes. But before that, we have some feedback on Facebook. We have one voicemail. We're hoping for more, but we only got the one. I don't know why people didn't send us messages. It's Fred the Hammer Williamson, people. Why didn't you send us messages? But anyway, we have one voicemail, some feedback from Facebook. But first, why don't you hear all about some other shows that are out there that you might also get a kick out of? Roll the tape, Vlad. Oh, Uncle Bernie, it's always do this and do that, 'cause I never just sleep.
Hi, my name's Chris, and I've got Stephen Seagal on the old dog and bone. Stephen, Yes.
Have you ever desired to hear a weekly movie podcast hosted by two fellows from the northeast of England who run their little hands through the week's movie news and then cap it off with a review or two, ranging from all sorts of genres: kung fu, anime, straight-to-video tomfoolery, bit of horror?
No.
Well, you're a dick who doesn't know what he's talking about. I don't even know why I'm asking you. I'm sure there's other people out there who have desired to hear such a thing, so if you're one of those lovely people, pop on over to wafufm.com, that's WAFUFM.com, and check out the show. You can also find us on iTunes, TalkShoe, and Facebook at facebook.com/wafublog. Wafu FM, it's a podcast that's good and stuff. Shut up, Stephen.
The Three Black Geeks Podcast. Listen to us on iTunes, Libsyn, and Podomatic. Somehow we're still over there and just listen. It's good. It's good. Anyway, DJ Sue, what do you say we want to be out?
I say look for us on Facebook, on Twitter. No, we do not have a MySpace. And no, we do not have Google AdSense. But we do have Podomatic, as Dee just said.
And we're broke as hell. We need money. This ain't good. Play the knife on it. We need money.
From the folks that bring you the blogs at nerdlunch.net and cavalcadeofawesome.net, it's the Nerd Lunch Podcast. Join CT, Jeej, Pax, and the ever-rotating fourth chair every week covering a variety of topics in movies, TV, comic books, fast food, snacks, and more. Nerd Lunch is available from iTunes and nerdlunch.net.
And that really is just a very small selection, just the tip of the iceberg, just a taster, if you like, of some of the shows that are out there and are really worth listening to. So I don't put any promos on the show that I don't listen to the show first and haven't personally endorsed. So please do check out these promos, do check out these shows, do support other podcasters. It is a fantastic medium, and these guys are the very best at what they do. So please do check them out. Okay, so moving on to our Facebook feedback before our fantastic Fred Williamson interview. Oh, give me feedback on my Facebook page. Yeah, give me feedback on my Facebook page. If you give me feedback on my Facebook page, well, I will read it on the show. Oh, yeah, I will read it on the show. Okay, so the question I asked this week is, who's a fan of Fred Williamson, Pam Grier, Jim Brown, Richard Roundtree, and general African-American movies of the 70s and 80s? Any favorites or any comments? Danger Chris Jones said, 3 the Hard Way has my beloved Jim Kelly in it, so very, very good. Chris Taylor writes, my fave by a mile is Ron O'Neal in Superfly. The soundtrack to it is also a solid classic. Close second would be Original Gangsters, not only bringing together an amazing cast, but it's genuinely a great movie regardless of genre. Others would include, in a list of ones I'd watch again, The Mac, I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, Willie Dynamite, Coffee, New Jack City, Shaft, and many more. Looking forward to Original Gangsters Month. And then Danger Chris Jones said again, when Kelly left to fight spiritual jive turkeys, I lit a candle, took off my cap, and ensured there was a Kellyathon with the lads. Moses Longpiece writes, Gordon's War across 110th Street adheres to the rule. If it's got Yaphet Kotto in it, it will be good. But my favorite is The Spook Who Sat by the Door. I think it was banned as it was too incendiary. And lastly, Andreas Bengtsson writes, Black Cobra is a pretty cool Italian version of Cobra with Da Hammer. Obviously, Truck Turner is awesome, and Foxy Brown and Coffee with Pam Grier. Well, I can't argue with any of that. They're all great films, and everyone should go and check them out. Okay, and finally, just the voicemail we received this week. I want to say thank you ever so much for sending the voicemail in. I hope you're listening. There isn't a name, so I don't know who it was, but thank you ever so much. We love the participation. And if you yourselves want to send in a voicemail or hear your voice here on the podcast, you can call us at 347-669-0053 or leave a voicemail over at SpeakPipe. That's www.speakpipe.com/aftermoviediner, or just send us an email at aftermoviediner@gmail.com and I'll read it out here on the show. So we've got the voicemail and then the interview with Fred the Hammer Williamson.
I love Fred Williams and the whole cast, and I'm so very excited about Old School Gangsters 2.
Yo, this is Fred the Hammer Williamson, and you're listening to the After Movie Diner. You know what I'm saying? After Movie Diner. Keep listening. You might learn something.
That's right. You're about to be schooled by none other than Fred the Hammer Williamson, the man who has entertained us in fantastic action pictures, playing the hero for the last 4.5 decades. The man's a legend. You'll know him from Dusk Till Dawn, the Black Cobra series, MASH, Bucktown, Hell Up in Harlem, you name it. He's done the most incredible, fantastic movies. We're going to talk about 2 of those movies later in the show, 3 the hard way and 1 down, 2 to go. But first, here it is. It is my honor, my privilege, and an absolute pleasure to introduce Fred the Hammer Williamson onto the After Movie Diner podcast. Hi, Fred. This is John from the After Movie Diner.
Yeah, how you doing?
I'm good, sir. I'm good. And how are yourself?
Incredible.
Incredible. Excellent. You got time to have a few words with us today?
Got lots of time.
Excellent, man. Excellent. Well, it's a real thrill and pleasure to be on the phone with you. On the line with us as well, I've got my co-host for this episode, Mr. Paul Crowson. He's on the line with us as well.
How are you, Mr. Williamson? Are you okay?
I'm good as can be.
Good.
Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. So, can we start talking about the first original Gangstas and how that film came about?
My goal is to make films that people want to see and put people in a film that people want to see. So my idea was to put all the old school actors back together in a film and let them do what they're famous for. Let them play a part in which they're famous for. Hollywood doesn't seem to care about that. Hollywood moves on much too quickly than some actors want. So a lot of actors don't really get a chance to continue their character, like Jim Brown or Pam Grier or Bernie Casey. So I decided to put together a film called Original Gangstas. And that sort of sums up what we represent to the film industry in public, which is the OG. So I've developed a nickname, not that I need a new one for sure, but OG is now what they call me and Jim Brown and Pam Grier. We're Original Gangstas. So
nice.
I made a film. The story came from there was a vacant house next to where my mother lived in Gary, Indiana, and some drug dealers had moved in and selling dope and stuff from this vacant house. And one day, their car was blocking the driveway. My mom couldn't get out, and she asked one of these guys to please move their car. And they said some very terrible things to her and threatened her. And some neighbor heard it while it was happening, called me in L.A. and said, "You better come out here and help your mom because she's having some problems with some turkeys next door." So I flew back to Gary and got a couple of my buddies, Bubba and Junior, and we went by the door, knocked on the door. A guy came to the door. I said, "Is that your car?" He said, "Yeah." I proceeded to pound on him, took him out to the street, took all his clothes off, and made him run down the street naked. So I said, there's a movie here. This is a pretty good movie. I can come back home and protect people from vigilante youngsters. So that's how I came about doing Original Gangstas.
That's very cool, very cool. And so that incredible cast, are you all friends, or is it more like respected colleagues from a similar time in movie making who just want to work together again?
No, some of both. I got golfing buddies with Jim Brown and Richard Roundtree, and always looking for some way to be close to Pam Grier. So,
of course,
I wanted to put together a film that I figured we all could have some fun in. And nothing is better when you do a film and you have all your buds with you. Then it becomes really a fun project.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great film. We love it. And Larry Cohen directing was obviously a nod to work you had both done in the 70s on Black Caesar and Hell Up in Harlem. Whose idea was that, and what was it like to be working with him again after so much time?
Well, since I produced the film and wrote the film, I had the power to select whoever I wanted. And it was payback for me to give Larry Cohen a chance to do a film because he hadn't done anything of that nature in a long time. So it was kind of a payback favor to bring Larry in and let him help direct it because he he kind of knew everybody that was in the film. He kind of knew their style and their characters, so I figured he'd be a good choice, along with my help, of course.
Yeah, of course. And what, if any, were the major differences between making similar films in the 70s versus either the 90s or indeed now?
Well, my films from the 70s, from the beginning, never really fit into the genre of black exploitation. When they started making the films back in the early 70s, the black stars were getting jobs and working. Their films were basically retribution. Let's get whitey, let's pay back whitey. My films were never like that. I beat up black people, yellow people, pink people, white people. I beat up everybody. If you were bad, you went down in one of my films. So I made sure that my image stayed intact, because what I was selling was integrity. I wasn't selling a guy to get back and consider retribution for being black. And that never entered my mind. I just wanted to make a good action film, a believable action film, a film where the special effects is not the star of the film, but more important, the characters, the people, how they walk, how they talk, how they interact with other people. That's what's important in the films that I make.
And how do you think that's changed in filmmaking between then and now?
Special effects is the star of the movie. You don't really care about people anymore. I mean, they don't need to. Why they pay $10 million and $8 million for somebody to be in a film with special effects is the star of the film? They got Angelina Jolie jumping out of an airplane on top of a moving truck and then jumping off the truck and running down the street. Come on, I mean, that's where the phrase "come on, man" came from. When you sit there, especially when you watch it with a black audience, they sit there and you get a lot of those "come on, man."
Yeah.
You know, so I want to stay with something that's believable. You know, my idols were Clint Eastwood and Charles Bronson and Robert Mitchum and Robert Ryan. Those kind of guys, George Raff, Humphrey Bogart. These guys didn't need special effects to carry a film. Their character and their personality carried the film.
Yeah, definitely. So you're currently in the process of a Kickstarter campaign for Old School Gangsters, the sequel. How did that come about?
Well, because I'm having so much trouble in Hollywood. Hollywood doesn't care about the projects that star black actors anymore. They just don't really care. So I have had problems trying to find money, trying to find financing for the film. So I understand that Kickstarter was the way to go. The only mistake that we made in Kickstarter was we did it over the holidays, and that was not a good choice. We should have waited later on. You know, there may be a miracle may happen. We still may make our goal, but if there's a possibility to kick it up again in a few months, I think that the timing was bad for it because of the holidays.
Yeah. Well, we're doing it all that we can, man. We're advertising it as much as we can on Twitter and Facebook and putting it out there where we can. And obviously we're doing our two shows are doing a whole series of original gangster movies, all movies starring you guys, Jim Brown, Pam Grier, yourself, and so on. So we're trying to get the message out over January if we can and push the
Well, it's a good chance. Stallone copied it. That's why Stallone got his idea from the films that he's doing now, the Expendables, or whatever you call them.
Yeah.
Was bringing all his buds and bringing all these characters back in the film together, that people were wondering what they were doing and where they were, and Stallone put them all in a movie, and it became, a picture for everybody to come see their favorite actor in one film, and that's really why, this film needs to be made. It should be made so that people can see their stars.
Definitely. Well, we agree. And you've got a lot of the old cast coming back, but also some new faces from the old days, Antonio Fargas and Gloria Hendry. Is there anyone else from those classic films from the 70s and 80s that you want to get back for the film? Or?
Yeah, I got Gloria Hendry in it. Remember Gloria Hendry? She was a star back then. There's Pam Grier, Bernie Casey, Richard Roundtree, Antonio Fargas, Robert Forster. He's a friend.
Yeah.
So, whatever name that I can come up with, I might just throw him in as a cameo. I'll fill it up. Once you get this film off the ground, it'll be easy for me to throw names in because everybody wants to be in this kind of film. That's a black actor or a black actress for sure, because the film has integrity, and I don't make cheap-looking films. And the films that I have, stand up for any filmmaker who likes good films. So for me to put other people in the film, it won't be a problem once we get it off the ground.
On the show this week, so we're covering 3 the Hard Way and one Down, 2 to Go. Films that have similar casts. 3 the Hard Way was one of your first ensemble films. In that, you played up the reputation, talents and attributes of its stars. How did that film come about?
We're looking for, we're looking for a vehicle at that particular time that would captivate a total audience, not because everybody was making so-called black films at that particular time. And again, my idea was not to make a black film, but make a film that had some credibility, even if the subject matter was black, but it wasn't a film shot in the ghetto. It was a film shot in many venues in New York and Detroit, where Jim Brown and I lived, and Jim Kelly. So you put 3 guys together who have a reputation as badasses. You know there's going to be some fighting and some shooting. There's going to be no talking, or little talking is possible. Just good action. So it was easy to understand what made that film work.
Oh, definitely, it's non-stop action. It's great. The film appears like it's been filmed all over the country. Was that? Did you have to travel for the shoot, or was that just film trickery?
No, my goal is to make films around the world. My last 10, 20 films are all made around the world. I like to make films in locations like in Germany, in Italy, in Paris, in London, so that the black audiences who may never have a chance to travel there can live vicariously through us and watch us travel smooth through these countries without having any idea of being black or any idea of being prejudiced when you were in these countries. It's just one man seeking another bad guy or following some villain that you have to take out in Italy. So that's been my concept all along, is to make films for the world market and not just for the black market.
Excellent. Is there any funny stories from the making of the movie?
You ain't got that much time.
We've got all night, man.
Every time you put a whole bunch of celebrities and a whole bunch of stars together, you're going to have some conflicts. And those conflicts are good and they're interesting and they're healthy because they never really come to fruition, but there's a lot of threats and pushing and shoving and things that happen. But it's all things we laugh and talk about over dinner afterwards. That we did this film called Take a Hard Ride with me and Jim Brown and Jim Kelly, which was a follow-up on 3 the Hard Way. And it was one scene we were walking across a bridge, and Jim Kelly's in front of me, and it was a rope bridge, so it was very narrow. Jim Kelly was in front of me, Jim Brown was behind me, and I was leading a horse. So we get across on the other side, and now Jim Brown is angry at me, peeled at me, and I said, "What's the problem with it?" So your goddamn horse was in my face. I said, "It's not my problem, man. Don't walk so close to the horse. Don't do it again." So now we shoot it over because Jim didn't like it, because every time he'd look over his shoulders, look back for the bad guy, and he'd turn around to cross the bridge, his face was in the horse's ass. So I said, "Jim, ain't my problem, man. Back up." So we did it again, and it almost happened again, and so me and Jim almost rumbled over a horse's ass, Those kind of little things happen. Everybody wants their space.
Yeah.
With 1 Down, 2 to Go, you added Richard Roundtree, but this time you produced and directed. What was that like? Well,
again, it was hard to find money to put together a sequel that was so successful. Which makes Hollywood even more confusing. I mean, here's a 3 the Hard Way was very successful. I'm out of trying to raise money to do the sequel to it, and it didn't happen through Hollywood, so I had to do, private sources. And so in order to make sure that the film was a success, I threw in Richard Roundtree to make sure that the film was going to be a success, because we really didn't have a lot of money to make the film, but, my image and career was at stake for me to make a film that didn't make money, because I've never made a film that didn't make money. So I put Roundtree in it to secure the fact that the film would be successful, and it was very successful.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's hard to understand Hollywood sometimes. Money is green, and they don't seem to see totally the fact that money is green. It's still black and white in Hollywood.
Yeah. And did you always want to be a director, or was it an extension of the acting, or did it just grow out of necessity?
It grew out of necessity because it's cheaper. If I'm going to produce and direct and star, then I don't have to pay me. I mean, if you add all of my services to a $500,000 film and pay me nothing, then it's not really a $500,000 film. It's $1 million film if I make $200 for directing and $200 for acting and $150 for producing. I mean, it's a $1 million film. It's not a $500,000 film. So I could get more on the screen by taking whatever money they give me and put it on the screen and not really put it in my pocket and count on my ability to make a good film that will pay me at the end. So, it's cheaper.
Yeah.
And after Three the Hard Way, Take a Hard Ride, and One Down, was there ever talk of kind of continuing those films between you guys, or was Original Gangsters the next opportunity you had for that?
Original Gangsters was the next opportunity because, again, we're bucking the system. We're doing something without needing the system. We're doing something that's not getting total major release, and yet and still we're being successful. So I think some of the films and the idea was a threat to what Hollywood was doing. I mean, here in New York, if my film was playing across the street that I made for $1 million, and on the other side of the street in New York is a film that costs $90 million, and I got a line outside of my theater, and they don't have a line outside of their theater, I'm taking money away from them.
Yeah.
And that's how they see it. That's how they view it. And, too bad.
And right, exactly. I mean, all those movies deserve to be, classics as far as I'm concerned, and preserved for a long time. And hopefully they will continue to be as fans rediscover them. But you have great defined. All three of you guys who are in that main movie, and Richard Roundtree, you all have these great defined on-screen personas. How true to your real life is that, either then or when you started out, or versus today?
Well, remember, you're talking to the Hammer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still pinching myself.
I didn't get that name from picking roses.
Right.
I got that name on the football field for trying to decapitate people. So I already had an image as a badass.
Yeah.
So when I decided to go into Hollywood, I was not going to give up an image that I had created in pro football. So I made that quite clear to the press when I first came in and did movies. I said, I got 3 rules. 1, you can't kill me in a movie. 2, I have to win all my fights in a movie. And 3, I get the Earl at the end of the movie if I want it. Now, you satisfy 2 out of 3 of those, and I'm in your movie. Otherwise, I'm not for sale. You can't buy me. I'm not selling my integrity or my image, because I know what I stand for. I know what I stand for as a person. I know what I stand for in the black community, and I'm not willing to give that up for a few dollars, because after the money is gone and you've sold your image, you got nothing left.
Yeah, and that's obviously a real strong message behind your heroic image on screen, and that on-screen persona has been really important to you. And is it still as important? Are you still as passionate about it now? Do you think in this day and age it's still as important?
Well, it's me. It's not matter as important. I'm sitting here smoking a cigar in front of the fireplace talking to you, and if anybody walks in the door that don't supposed to walk in that door, I guarantee you'll hear some screaming, and it won't be me. So, I am what I am.
No, indeed. I get it. So you did a lot of work. You mentioned earlier you obviously worked a lot in Europe, and that was sort of shortly after One Down, 2 to Go, I think. Was that initial move, was that to do with the money aspect? Was there money out there, or were you interested in what was going on in European filmmaking?
Well, I had made several films even before that. Because I'd already been listening to the producers in Hollywood saying that blacks in films don't make money in the foreign market. And I never quite understood why they said that, because I had a lot of girlfriends from Germany and Switzerland and Paris and Rome. So I know they like me somewhere. So you can't tell me that they don't like me over there. So what I did in 1973, 74, I made a film called Adios Amigo with Richard Pryor. And I took the film under my arm to Cannes, and I sit on the Carlton Terrace, and I gave the maitre d' $50 every day 12 o'clock to save me the same table right in the middle of the terrace during the lunchtime, where all the big shots and all the big producers came and showed off their wares and tried to be cool sitting on the terrace. And I had the table right in the center. I took my brochures, I laid my brochures out, spread them on the table, had the T-shirt girls long before the T-shirt girls were popular, walking around with Adios Amigo on their T-shirts. First buyer came up was Grease. Grease says, we buy all Fred Williamson movies. We want to buy your film. Here's $3,000. I said, why is that? He says, I'll never pay more than $3,000. That's what the going price is over here for any film with a black star. It's $3,000. And I suddenly realized that this idea that blacks don't make films in Europe was being sold to the foreign market so they could sell them, and the foreign market could buy them cheap. But they knew that it was a lie, so they did not help to change that image, because if they can buy them cheap, they would buy them cheap. So they didn't fight that $3,000 was a great buy. But before I left that week, he bought the film for $25,000. He promised not to go back and tell Hollywood what he paid for it, because he didn't want to change the image or the perception.
Yeah.
So it was something that Hollywood even still believes, that a film with a black star alone don't do business in Europe. You don't see many stars carrying a picture. Even Denzel Washington or Samuel Jackson rarely carry a film by themselves. There's always a white counterpart, whether it's female or male. I mean, they gave Denzel Washington American Gangster. American Gangster was nothing more than a ripoff of Black Caesar.
Right.
But he had a huge name. He had a big white counterpart, and the film really wasn't that good, and it really didn't do big business. So, foreign market is a big market for me, because in Europe, I'm not a black actor. I'm an action star.
Yeah.
In America, I'm a black actor. That's a big difference.
Yeah, and it's a shame that there's a difference, because you can definitely see from your movies that you've done where you're just, like you say, just playing the action star rather than necessarily playing any other.
I had an ongoing character in Rome in Italy called Black Cobra.
Right,
exactly. I played a cop. It's a dirty, hairy cop. That's all it is. Like trying to sell that image here is impossible. Over there, they loved it.
Yeah.
Because it was a good movie, and that's the criteria. If the movie is good, it's marketable. If it's not good, then it's not. They don't really give it that opportunity. I mean, they did it one time with Shaft, and then they came back and gave Shaft a television series with two white counterparts, some young blonde and a young white guy, which took away the total image of Shaft.
Yeah. No, completely. No, I agree. But do you have any from those European days of making, like the Inglourious Bastards and the Bronx Warriors and movies like that? What are they like? What's it like being on an Italian set and the Italian directors? Is it different? Is it more exciting? Is there stories from those movies?
Well, my first experience of doing a film was Inglourious Bastards, made in Rome. And first day on the set, everybody's talking and all the crew and everybody's making noise. And then when it comes time to shoot, the talking doesn't stop. They're ordering coffee and 2 creams and then they got an air camera that sounds like a wash machine, because they know that there's going to be dubbing afterwards, because they dub everything, and you're trying to concentrate on what you're doing. That was the most difficult thing I ever did in my whole life, was my first movie in Italy, listening to this loud camera and listening to everybody talking in the background. They don't care, because they want the performance and they don't really care. I mean, that's why the films that are made in Europe don't really do big business over here, because we're spoiled. We like perfection. They don't mind that the voice and the mouth don't move at the same time. That doesn't bother them. They're looking at the film and enjoying the actor and enjoying the cast. And that's what they're looking at. Here we're looking at perfection. If the car door closes and there's no sound in the car door, you go, did you see that? There was no sound in the door. They don't do that over in Europe. That's not so big.
Yeah, well, there's a certain group of fans over here, I think, and also in the UK who like those movies, who can see what those movies are. They look past the dubbing or they look past the sound. They can see, how much fun they are and what good times they are. I think a lot of those, I think, with the new media, DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff, are getting a resurgence. As Bill Lustig, someone you've worked with, has his Blue Underground company that releases these kind of movies all the time. So
well, they got looked over so fast and never really got a chance to be exposed properly. I think that's where the reoccurrence is coming. Even with the music, when Black Caesar and Helpin' Harlem came, and with the soundtrack of James Brown, now the young people a few years ago hearing the music, saying, where did this music come from? It came from this movie, Black Caesar, Helpin' Harlem. And now they want to see it, so they go see Black Caesar and Helpin' Harlem. They go, wow, that's a pretty good movie. Any more around? So, I mean, it all helps.
Yeah, it's all getting refound all the time. I mean, it's only in the last kind of 10 years that I've come to it, but I love all those movies, and I love your movies and Pam Grier's movies, and I feel like, although they might not have been given their due, I feel like they are important movies. Did you feel that there was a sense of excitement and importance at the time amongst the black community putting these movies out there, or was it just another movie? Was it just more work? Was it just, what were your feeling at the time?
No, not at the time they were being made, because at the time they were being made, it was the first surgence of black heroes, and there were no black heroes in the movies. Sidney Poitier was a great actor, but you certainly wouldn't consider him an action hero. He was a great actor, and that's all we had back in the day was Sidney Poitier and Harry Belafonte. So there was a need, there was a vacuum for an Eastwood kind of guy or a Bronson kind of guy to step forward. So when I stepped into the ring and Roundtree did and Brown did, we fulfilled a void. And, that's kind of like what propelled those movies, because now the blacks had people they could root for. The black guy doesn't get killed in the first 5 minutes of the film, and then they avenge his death. Kill Schwarzenegger, let me avenge his death. Don't kill me in the first 5 minutes of the film.
Now that's a movie. Yeah, you're killing Schwarzenegger and avenging his death.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One of the people you've clearly influenced is Quentin Tarantino. You work with him on From Dusk Till Dawn. You've already said about your 3 rules that you don't die on film, you don't lose a fight, you get the girl. But did you change the rule for that film?
No, I knew that if I went down at something big and ugly, and that is the hammer. I went down to something after I had killed 35 vampires and did my thing. Then I turned into this thing that looked like he hadn't had his morning coffee. So I didn't go down as the hammer. And it was respect that Quentin gave me, because he let me help write the stuff, create some scenes in there. Like I'm a martial artist, so I said, listen, why don't I do some martial arts? He said, well, what do you want to do? Well, suppose one of these guys walk by, and as he's walking by, I say, whatever you got to say to him, say to me first. And he walks toward me, and I do a martial art move and take his heart out. So I'm holding his heart in my hand, but he's still walking. So Harvey Keitel stabbed it with a pencil. And that's how he killed the thing.
It's a great scene.
I mean, Quentin obviously thinks a lot of me because he did Inglourious Bastards. He copied Inglourious Bastards. He did the Django, which was The Legend of Nigger Charlie. Took my uniform, my outfit, my hat, my horse, my gun, everything, and did the Django with it. So, I mean, hey, there's some respect there that he hasn't really mentioned yet, but I'm sure quietly he said, hey, the hammer's pretty good.
You clearly influenced him. What was the experience like being on set on From Dusk Till Dawn, working with Robert Rodriguez and having that makeup on? What was that like?
I didn't really give a damn about watching Rodriguez or Quentin. We got Selma Hayek. My eyes was on Selma Hayek. I didn't care about Quentin. I didn't care about Rodriguez. I'm watching Selma Hayek. Are you crazy? I'm trying to become friends with Selma. I spent the whole time trying to be friends with her.
I don't blame you, sir.
Quite right too.
And looking back over your career, you've made over 100 movies. Are there any favourite roles that you've enjoyed playing, or could you?
No, what I've made sure is that, again, that the roles that I play fit within the realm of what I said. I don't sell my integrity. I don't do a role for the sake of being in the film unless it gives me what I want as far as image is concerned. Because I'm very concerned and careful about my image. I mean, I can't lose a fight to some guy and then walk down the ghetto street in New York or in Chicago, and the guy says to me, brothers pass me on the street, say, hey, man, how you doing? Why you let that little guy beat you up in the movie? So, that ain't going to happen. And I know that that's where my longevity is that there is no surprises in a Fred Williamson movie. You know what I'm going to do. You know how I'm going to do it. So there are no surprises. And that goes a long way. And whatever film that you're in, again, I refer back to Clint Eastwood. I refer back to Charles Bronson. As Charles Bronson got older, his gun got bigger. He started killing the bad guy with bazookas, if you remember. So his image didn't change. Even though he couldn't fight anymore, he got a bigger gun. So he compensated for that. So image, to me, is everything.
Excellent.
And are there any movies that you're particularly proud of either as an actor, producer, or director, ones that really kind of stick out for you, ones that you would suggest if someone said, who's Fred Williamson? Which ones would you hand off and say to an audience they should see?
My favorite movie that I made, but again, they all fit the same image-wise, but my favorite movie, small movie that not many people even saw, it's called Joshua.
Right.
And these guys came riding into this little cabin and they did harm to my mother. And so I now got to seek them out one by one. And my favorite line in the movie is I get to the last guy, and I got him cornered in a cave. I hang some dynamite just out of his reach in the opening of the cave, and he started yelling, who are you? Because he didn't understand why this guy on a black horse was following him around and killing his friends one by one. And my last line before I drew a bead on the dynamite and shot it was, he said, who are you? And I said, I'm my mother's son. And I blew him away. Hey, to me, that's the best line in the whole movie. I'm my mother's son.
Yeah.
And took him out. Yeah.
Excellent. So everyone should go check out Joshua. And is there any ambition or anything you set out to achieve in this business or any business that you still have to do? Or is it all just about continuing your fantastic image and legacy?
When I look back, I don't really feel like I've done anything. I'm just trying to move in a straight line. I don't have any great goals except to be continually creative in doing things that I want to do. I really don't feel that I've accomplished a lot because maybe I don't really know what my goal is, but I just want to keep moving forward, and maybe one day I'll find it.
Well, as far as us film fans are concerned, sir, you have accomplished a hell of a lot. And is there anything apart from Original Gangsters 2 that you're working on that people can look forward to that's coming out soon?
Yeah, I finished a film in Berlin called, it was a film about Hitler hiding a atomic weapon in one of his bunkers. And the bad guys were out to get this weapon. And I had to get it before they did. I just want America to know that they're safe. I got it. The name of the movie is called Atomic Eden.
Oh, yeah.
And I finished one in Montreal called Billy Trigger.
Our friend, in fact, one of our friends who runs another show, Jason Hewlett, worked on Billy Trigger.
Right.
Yeah, right. I'm looking forward to seeing that. He gets killed in it, so I'm looking forward to seeing it.
That's going to be a good one. That's going to be a good film.
Yeah, and I was actually reading up on Atomic Eden earlier before the interview, so I'm looking forward to seeing that when it comes out as well. And was there anything else you wanted to say on Original Gangsters 2?
No, I just hope that the fans realize that I'm trying to make the film for them because the film needs to be made. It needs to be seen. And, whenever I tell people that I'm trying to do this film, Original Gangsters 2, their eyes light up, like, when are you going to do it? When is it? I said, well, we can't do it till we get the money. So it's a film, when you mention it, everybody wants to see it. So, which excites me and wants me to get it done even more.
Okay, excellent. Well, we're definitely going to be spreading that word throughout January and into February. So thank you ever so much for your time today, Fred. That was absolutely wonderful interview. Thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate you guys giving me a chance to talk about it.
Oh, no, of course. Anytime. I could talk to you all night with a number of things number of movies.
It's been such an honour. Such an honour speaking to you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, take care. All the best, sir.
Ciao.
Hi, I'm Doug the Geek.
And I'm Ashley the Academic. And we're the
hosts of the Above the... What are you doing?
We're supposed to say the title of the show, the Above the Line podcast.
Yeah, we're supposed to say it together, you dullard. Now, let's try it again.
And we're the hosts of
No, not yet. Hold on. I'm just kidding. Go for it.
And we're the hosts
of the Above...
Come on!
Okay, forget that. Just tell them where they can find us.
Find the Above the Line podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Facebook.com/The Above the Line Podcast, or just check us out at AboveTheLinePodcast.com.
We cover the best and most interesting films in the history of cinema from both my own geeky perspective
and my more cultured academic perspective.
And it's fun.
Sort of.
Yeah, sort of. So check us out.
The Above
the Line Podcast. Yeah, you were still off.
Okay, so that was the Doc and I interviewing none other than the legend Fred Williamson. And how is that, sir, for you?
I've stopped shaking now. I've just been at the week because it was building up because I was so nervous.
Yeah.
Oh, what a great interview.
Yeah, really good, really nice guy, absolutely fantastic to speak to him. Lots for him to say, which I thought was great. No, I think it's sad that he doesn't think he's achieved anything. You know, we were talking earlier before the interview. I think those 70s movies in particular, you know, were and are incredibly important in terms of the development of, you know, African American cinema and African Americans in movies, and you know, his depiction of the hero, and then Jim Brown and Richard Roundtree and people like that taking up that mantle and continuing. And I think that is incredibly important, incredibly valuable. And you know, while they might not see it as paving the way or changing things or whatever, and while it may not have changed things as much as it maybe should have done, or as much as maybe they would have liked it to, I still think their existence is very important. And
just together as action movies, they're just fantastic.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you
regardless of whether they're blaxploitation films or not, they're just straight down the line great action films.
Oh yeah, completely.
He's created a legacy for himself just by his 3 rules.
Yeah. Obviously, we're doing all these shows to promote Original Gangsters 2, so I hope people who listen to it will give generously to the Kickstarter campaign, which can be found over at www.originalgangsters2.com. That's gangsters with an AS at the end, not an ERS. People should give generously to that, definitely.
He could have easily been put into the Expendables. The only bonus is that not only will we get an Expendables movie, but we're going to get Original Gangsters too. So we're going to have 2 great films.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to get all the guys we want to see. And really, you know, the trouble after a while with the Expendables movies is, okay, but who else do we, you know, we need more movies just so we can add more people. Because, you know, I know you and I, Doc, our dream cast would be hundreds of people big, you know what I mean? We could list off, you know, where's Don the Dragon Wilson, where's Cynthia Rothrock, where's Pam Grier, where's Fred Williamson, you know, where's Dudikoff, you know, where's Speakman.
Where's Seagal?
Where's Seagal, indeed. But one of the reasons that we have you, sir, Doctor of Action, on the show is that we are covering 2 such movies that were just awesome action movies of their day, which is 3 the Hard Way and 1 Down, 2 to Go. As you talked to Fred in the interview just there about those movies, they star Jim Brown, Fred Williamson, and Jim Kelly. And then 1 Down, 2 to Go stars also Richard Roundtree. So we'll start about 3 the Hard Way. Both, however, great action movies, just in their own right.
Absolutely. Especially in 3 the Hard Way, it just sort of kicks off and doesn't stop, really.
Fred Williamson, Jim Kelly. They've done it before on their own, but this one's too big to handle alone.
You know, man, you come to town, I know there's gonna be trouble.
Brown, Williamson, Kelly, the big 3, to together for the first time. They do it their way.
3 the hard way. 3 cities and 3 of us.
My troubles are almost over.
Gonna kill us all.
You see, we have a scientific institution here.
They found a way. Only us. Nobody else.
The ultimate purpose is a cleansing, a purification of the races.
You gotta stop.
Here, brother, I'm ready.
Hey, it's just me and Wonder Washer, baby.
When the 3 of them get through with you.
What makes you think the 3 of them will survive the next 24 hours?
And I am coming at you.
Yes.
You asked me to secure a place for you in history. History is watching, waiting for your decision. This is your moment, Mr. Feather.
Action explodes all over the place. When the big 3 join forces to save their race.
What's happening? Why?
Brown, Williamson, Kelly, together for the first time.
Help each other, keep these words I say, yeah. Following the footsteps of 3 who stood tall against the enemy of me and say no place. The hard way.
The thing with 3 the Hard Way, it's got this storyline that's, I don't know, it's a really over-the-top storyline, you know, where you've got a mad scientist poisoning the water supply. And it's sort of like a science fiction plot that's sort of grounded in this really, not sort of gritty, realistic world, but it just gives license for Fred Williamson and Jim Brown just to go full out for revenge.
Well, I think the best thing about it is that the villains are a fascist group,
yes.
which would be the villains of any movie. You know what I mean? Like, you want to see a hero get rid of fascist groups no matter what. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter that they're white supremacists. It's just they're fascist assholes. And I'm sure that although it seems far-fetched to us now or seems science fiction-y to us now, I'm sure it was like a conspiracy theory. You know, there's this whole conspiracy theory about putting fluoride in the water and all this sort of stuff.
Yes, yeah, I've heard the conspiracy theories, about that sort of thing. So obviously it probably does come from something. I mean, I wasn't around in the 70s, so I can't sort of go back to then. So, but there's no doubt. I bet there was something in the newspaper about it, or rumblings. I mean, obviously today you'd go on the internet and find it out in a matter of seconds.
Right. And, it's because basically what this white supremacist is trying to do is got this mad scientist who's trying to put a toxin in the water that is going to be harmless to whites, but lethal to the African American community. And Jim Brown is a record producer whose old friend from the streets where they grew up gets.
He's been kidnapped by this group.
Right, he's been kidnapped. He's in one of their compounds. He's been tested on, and he escapes. And while he's escaping, he gets shot. And he finds a couple on Lover's Lane who drive him to Jim Brown's underground car park. Jim Brown then drives him to the hospital, and while he's in hospital, his friend is killed, which causes... And his girlfriend, Jim Brown's girlfriend, is kidnapped. Wendy is kidnapped, played by Sheila Fraser. And he enlists Jim Kelly and Fred Williamson from Detroit and New York to help him out, right?
That's right, yeah. First he goes to Fred Williamson, and this sets up like the duo that's sort of ever present in this film and the next. But it's funny, like in the interview, that it sounds like he has some good banter back and forth with Jim Brown. So I'm presuming that they are really good friends. But you can see that these are the two like sort of main friends.
Yeah.
And they have this great meeting in the hotel room where Jim Brown, who plays Jimmy Late, sort of just jumps on Fred Williamson and they get into a bit of a scuffle.
Yeah. He surprises him and like Fred doesn't know who it is initially. Yeah, I found it interesting, like, not only in the interview we just did, but also in other interviews that I've heard Fred talk about Jim Brown, that they had that kind of competitive thing, a lot like a Stallone and Schwarzenegger have talked about subsequently, that they had a competitive thing, and that idea of, like, a male friendship that's, you know, that's more competitive, that's more playful, rather than necessarily emotional, although there's probably emotion underneath it, you know?
Yeah. I think you're probably right. I'd say it probably is a bit like the Schwarzenegger and Stallone of the 70s.
Just push each other to do bigger and better things.
Yeah, it's just, you know, whatever you can do, I can do better. But at the same time, there's a mutual respect there.
Although, can you imagine, like he said, he's golfing partners with him and Richard Roundtree. Can you just imagine the three of them on a golf course? I mean, it's incredible. You would never go up and say, could you move on? You know what I mean? It would be, if they were taking their time. Can you just imagine the three of them on a golf course? It's just, that's insane to me. Just that image to me is just...
I think they'd move on pretty quick, because I bet they're that good at golf. They must be that good at everything. Everything's just a hole in one.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Probably do a quick 9 or a quick 18 and back in the clubhouse for whiskies and women.
I'm surprised Fred Williamson didn't say, yeah, round of golf. That's a minute.
Yeah, that takes a couple of minutes. But Jim and Fred are together in the movie, and then obviously Jim Kelly in New York. Jim Kelly introduced by this fantastic slow-mo karate kung fu scene on the streets of New York.
That's a definite callback to Enter the Dragon.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like for like. That's what happens when we first see him in Enter the Dragon as well, being harassed by the police. But that is a really, really good fight. There's one kick in particular that Jim Kelly does, and he almost takes, I think it's one of the policemen's head off. It's done in slow motion.
Yeah.
It's such a good kick.
What makes me laugh is that back then in the 70s and the 60s, there was this whole, we'll slow it down so that audiences can appreciate it because, like, the people are moving way too quickly, they thought. But now it's all about how quick can we film it. It's all about, like, how quick. Like, we never slow anything down anymore. Like, you look at The Raid, you do all that stuff, and, you know, that whole fight that Jim Kelly does could be like a second of The Raid. But it's no less impressive because Kelly was obviously quite a martial artist, and just the way he does it is fun to watch and exciting to watch. And it's a great scene. It's a great setup scene for them.
It is, because until that point, I think it must be like 3/4 of the hour into the film, and Jim Kelly's really not been anywhere to be seen. It introduces each character perfectly, so you sort of know it creates the persona that they're going to have. And every character gets like a little moment to shine before they come on. You see, I mean, the credit sequence, it starts off like a romantic film with Jim Brown whining and dining his girlfriend.
Yeah, well, it's to show that he is, you know, a man of wealth, a man of substance. He's got his record-producing career. You see him with the impressions, and he's kind of like, come on, guys, you know what I mean, were you all up last night? Even though, like, it's the same track, I think, that they're working off. But that's a great scene. And then, like you say, you've got him walking around almost like a coffee commercial, you know. He's wearing this very square kind of blue blazer, and he's got the old Rolls car, and
they do drive some really nice cars in these films.
They do. It's fantastic. But like, and then you have Fred, who's clearly like the sort of ladies' man. I think he described it as a Burt Reynolds type, and Kelly, you've got is the sort of the serious martial artist, but once Brown goes to the hospital, in fact, once his friend has been killed, the movie does not let up. And there's scenes in the movie like they will shoot at a car and the car will just explode for no reason. Yeah. Or like a car will... The best one is when the car comes off the top of the car park and in the middle of coming off the top of the car park, it just explodes. It's an added explosion and then the car falls to the ground. It's fantastic.
I love this in this. One of the great things about this film is it's just they know they're making an action film. It's just an action film. Yeah. To them, it's just an action film. And... I mean, it's never really sets up how, you know, the fact that they can shoot a gun, because they get chased and all of a sudden they'll just start shooting people.
Yeah.
And there's never any sort of, I better cover the body up or anything.
No. There's never any... Their decision is, we know we're in the right. The audience knows we're in the right because all these guys wearing red berets and khaki uniforms are fucking white supremacists who have been drugging and killing African Americans. So... You know, at that point, everyone's behind you. You know, it's like Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones can go up against the Nazis all he likes because nobody gives a fuck. Like, no one's like, oh, why is this archaeologist library professor guy shooting people in the face? Nobody cares because he's the Nazis. So same with, you know, Fred, Jim, and Jim, I think. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and once they get on screen together, it's just full on, right, we know what we've got to do now. Let's go and get it done.
Well, I tell you what it is, for me, having seen a lot of these films with them individually, and predominantly, I have to say, having seen Fred Williamson and Pam Grier movies probably more than Jim Brown or Jim Kelly movies, you have in your head, this is what I want a team-up movie to be. And when I sat down to watch Original Gangsters, and I was like, I know what I want Original Gangsters to be. And it was everything I wanted it to be. Like, it had all the scenes in it that I wanted, right?
Yeah.
Similarly with this. Like, I sat down, I was like, you know, it's 1974, it's these guys. Like, sometimes those movies can be a little slow, sometimes they don't have the sense of fun you want or whatever. Like, I was prepared to maybe, you know, to like it, but maybe not love it. But it was absolutely everything I possibly wanted it to be. It was comic book, it was over the top, it was exciting, it was funny, it was weird, it was wonderful, it had all the action you can imagine, and as I said, a car crashes through the top of a car park and just explodes in midair. It doesn't explode when it hits the wall of the car park, it hits the wall of the car park, comes out, and then explodes. That to me is genius. And then you've got the performance of the three leads is just phenomenal. They're all having what looks like a bunch of fun.
That's it. I mean, when you said about you get the three, I mean, but you know, maybe back then it wasn't a huge deal, but nowadays when you get three big actors like Jim Brown, like Fred Williamson and Jim Kelly in a film, nowadays that film would probably be really shit. Because they'd be thinking too much about it, if you know what I mean.
Well, I think we all had that worry about The Expendables. We all had that worry that The Expendables could have been really... Like, it could have been an experiment that failed.
Yeah. But it's like so much time goes into some of these films where they try to get the plot right. Whereas all people want to see when they see these films is... That's what they're known for. We just want to see action. Yeah, we want a storyline, but we want a basic storyline. What we really want to see is we want to see three friends team up, kick the bad guys' asses, shoot them when necessary, and just have fun doing it.
Yeah.
And that's what Three the Hard Way does. I mean, some of the scenes are just purely weird. I mean, when those three girls come along.
Right, but that's so stylistic and cool. Like the other thing that comes back to me every time I watch these movies, and like I say, to some extent I'm watching them retroactively because, you know, while I was aware of a lot of them growing up, it's really in the last 10 years that I've delved deeply into them. It's odd. As a sort of early teenager of the 90s, the more I watch the 70s movies, the less I like Tarantino. Because I'm like... every stylistic choice he makes. Like, people used to accuse him of stealing stuff, and I was like, yeah, whatever. Every filmmaker steals stuff, and, you know, certainly his first three, Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, and Jackie Brown, I liked so much at the time that I was like, it doesn't matter. And those three movies, I think, still hold up to some extent. But when you get to, like, Kill Bill, and you see the fact that she's wearing all yellow on a yellow bike with a yellow hat, people talk about it and go, oh, well, you know, she's wearing Bruce Lee's costume. But she's also, in the same way, mirroring the motorbike women in this movie.
Yes.
Because you have the three motorbike women who are one's in blue leather on a blue bike with a blue helmet, one's in red leather on a red, and one's in white leather on a white bike with a white helmet. And they drive across the Brooklyn Bridge. I've walked on that bridge, dude. It was like, that's awesome.
I think you're right. I mean, I remember the time when Quentin Tarantino became huge. And because I'd seen films, but these films weren't widely available.
No, some of these still aren't widely available.
Yeah. These were films from the 70s, so we were just seeing it through Pulp Fiction, through Reservoir Dogs, thinking, this Quentin Tarantino is really good. He's creating this like 70s world, and some of it's just like for like copying for some scenes.
And what's funny about it is that you could make the argument that if those movies hadn't come along in the 90s, then you wouldn't have had the resurgence of kind of geekdom or film fandom or whatever that you have today.
Oh, they definitely sort of go hand in hand. You do have to give Quentin Tarantino some credit that he's never sort of denied that he loves these films and that he borrows heavily from them. So you have got to sort of clap your hands to him for actually putting them out there in the public conscious.
But I love that scene. I love the scene with the three women on the bike riding across the Brooklyn Bridge and the music and everything.
I was sitting there watching it thinking, oh, they've got bikes now, because it's three of them.
Yeah, I thought it was them as well, and then I saw them from behind. I was like, nope.
yeah, that's it. I saw that. I thought, are these assassins being sent to kill each of them? And when they turn up, and you're like, oh god, they must have sent for women.
Yeah.
to sort of, right, let's get satisfied, then we'll go out and kill some more bad guys. But no, these are the interrogators.
Yeah, Countess, Princess, and Empress.
They do impress.
Yeah, they do. I mean, they whatever they do, they're interrogators who interrogate men topless.
I mean, that's it. I mean, they go upstairs and all of a sudden take the tops off. And it's like, what's going to go on now? And Fred Williamson and Jim Kelly are downstairs having a casual game of chess. You can hear this man screaming from upstairs. And you see, what the hell's going on? And is it at this point where Jim Kelly says, oh, I take it you've got a bit jiggy with him? And Fred Williamson says, no. I never mix business with pleasure. These girls are purely professional.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So you're sort of like, what the hell? Because you never do find out what they actually did to him.
No, but when the boys go upstairs, he's a gibbering, sweaty wreck of a man.
Yeah, he's only got his underpants on now.
So they've stripped him, and they've done something that's caused him to scream and get sweaty, and them get sweaty because they come out onto the balcony, don't they, and look down into the main room where Fred and Jim are. And they're all topless and sweaty. And that was just, to me, that was incredible. I couldn't get my head around it, but I was excited. I was excited joyously at the balls of it. You know what I mean? Just the brazen, like someone sat down and went, wow, we got to get tits in the movie. I know, 3 interrogators. Okay, well, how about they're 3 interrogating women? Okay, I like that idea because that's, female empowerment and all that. But how about they're 3 topless interrogating women? Wait a minute, how about they're on motorbikes? You know what I mean? Like, it's just, like, they layered on and on and on and on and on until you come up.
And as well, they were sort of like, one can be African-American, one can be Chinese, and the other one can just be white.
Yeah.
Satisfy everybody.
Satisfy everybody. No, there isn't a man in the audience that isn't looking at that and is happy. You know what I mean?
Like, I get the feeling it was supposed to be them three doing the interrogating with just them beating up, and somebody went, I've just looked at the script, you do realise we've got no tits in this, don't you?
Yeah.
We better change it to women then.
I just think it was such a brazen idea, and it's great. And it's the movie's full of those fun ideas, and there seems to be no end of henchmen to send to try and get. You know, they have a shootout everywhere, and shootouts just break out in the middle of arcades and car washes, and you know, wherever they are.
It's great. It just never lets up. I mean, like you say, it's in the arcade. All of a sudden, there's just like a big gunfight. All of a sudden, I mean, Jim Brown and Fred Williamson just carry guns around with them.
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
that's one of the great things. I mean, he's a record producer.
Yeah,
and he just carries a gun around with him.
And the clothes and the cars are phenomenal. And then you get the fact that they all meet up, they tell everyone what's going on. So then they have to go to Detroit, LA, and Washington, D.C. Jim Kelly goes to Washington, D.C., and Williamson goes to Detroit. You get introduction of all the characters. They all meet up. Then you get the disband, then they go their separate ways to try and get them. Then you get the scenes of them fighting the supremacists at the water plant, where they're going to put this toxin into the water supply at the source. So they fight them on a dam. There's that big dam that they fight them on, which is in LA. And then there's the one in DC. Then there's the one with Williamson, where he's up that ladder, and he climbs down the ladder and puts the toxin on the thing. And then the guys run around to get it, and he shoots them, and then climbs back up the ladder, grabs the suitcase. You've got those three scenes. Then they all get back together again at the airport, where they have this blue van filled with guns and ammunition. Just filled with absolutely everything. And then they storm the compound.
It's all good.
It's all good. What did you think of the guy who played like the big bad guy, like the Hitler wannabe, the kind of posh guy?
You mean the main guy, the mad scientist guy, or the main bad guy?
Monroe Feather, Jay Robinson, the main guy.
Oh, he's good.
He's funny, isn't he, though? He's one of, like, when I was watching the movie, I was like, there's no way, even if I was a big old racist, there's no way I'd be following this guy. Like, not very charismatic, was he?
No, not really. This guy was just basically put in there to get killed.
I think the only reason anyone was following him was for the parties, because he clearly had a lot of money and clearly liked splashing it about a bit at these kind of gatherings of racists. Yeah. I don't know what you talk about, a racist cocktail party, but while chogging on wieners, but they that's what they were doing at this big party at the end that Fred, Jim and Jim gate crash.
And don't they gate crash indeed.
Yeah, and then they just blow them all up, and then it ends with them just walking down some stairs with their woman being all awesome.
I mean, that gun that Jim Brown uses, just
fantastic.
It's like the gun Terry Crews uses in The Expendables.
It's a direct relation, yeah. At one point he can't believe... Because he shoots them, and then they explode. That's...
Yeah, and this is 1973.
Yeah.
73, 74.
Yeah.
And he's just like explodes people. It's great.
Yeah, of the two movies, it's my favourite. And that's not to take anything away from one down, two to go. But of the two movies, this was my favourite. It's a really good, fun 70s action comedy almost. That it's everything you want it to be. If you've even dipped your toe at all into Fred Williamson or Jim Brown or Jim Kelly movies, this won't disappoint.
No, it's just a good, fun time. Really good, fun time.
Yeah, it's certainly one of my favourites that he's done. Any other standout scenes for you, Doc?
Standout? I think it's just... Like I said, I think the standout scene for me probably is the Jim Kelly fight. I really did like that.
Oh, it's such good fun. It's so good fun. I love the way they put it together. And
Jim Kelly, sadly no longer with us, had the best afro ever.
Yeah, it wasn't like it wasn't so enormous, but it was sort of perfect for him because he's very tall and sort of skinny and lithe, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, yeah. I mean, he always said he was the Black Bruce Lee.
Right.
And he sort of makes the noises, he's got the stance. I really like Jim Kelly in this film. I really did.
Yeah,
really.
he did. Like, that's the other thing, is I think that he really... if you have any expectations of it, he brings it and then some, you know what I mean? Like, he really lives up to your expectations, both in the fighting and in the style and whatever.
Yeah. No, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Good fun time watch. I don't think you can go wrong with 3 the Hard Way. I think it's just and definitely get it. It's well worth shelling out for. The 4-pack that you got me.
That 4-pack's great because it's got some real classics on it, but mainly it's got this and
Black Belt Jones.
Black Belt Jones, yeah, the other Jim Kelly movie that's great as well. So well worth picking up that 4-disc set. Now, obviously, before you pick up any old movies, you have to donate to Original Gangstas 2.
So you want to celebrate donating to Original Gangstas 2 by going out and picking up this set just to let yourself be in store for what you're going to be receiving with Original Gangstas 2. It's like an appetizer.
So yeah, 3 the Hard Way. You can't go wrong. If you haven't seen it, see it. If you haven't picked it up, pick it up. And it's everything you could possibly want. I mean, there's too many good moments in it. I don't really want to spoil it.
It's just 90 minutes full of fun. I mean, you're not going to come away from it thinking, it's got quite a deep storyline about it. Because although it is, it is kind of an awful storyline with what the fascist bastards are trying to do. I mean, it's beyond awful what they're trying to do. To get the just desserts, and that's really all you want to see. Yeah, no, of course, but that's what I mean. That's what I meant earlier. They're a good all-round, criminal organisation. I think it's a good thing to do because everyone can get behind it. It's something more insidious and more hateful. Yeah, it's easy for everyone to get behind and everyone to enjoy. Yeah, and they just go and get their arses kicked. It's fabulous. I unabashedly love these movies. So now we go on to, it's an unofficial sequel because, like I say, it's not a sequel in character name and it's not a sequel in plot line, but it's certainly a sequel in style and intention, and even hinting at in the title, which is 1 down, 2 to go.
They practice discipline, timing, and movement. They hone speed into lightning reflexes. They develop muscle into incredible strength. Then they were ready for competition. The deadliest sport in the world meant big money, and big money meant the mob. But when the mob tried to muscle in on the brothers muscled right back in spades.
I don't like outsiders that come in and ask a lot of questions.
Jim Brown, Fred Williamson, Jim Kelly, Richard Roundtree. 4 dudes that just don't pay to mess with in 1 down, 2 to go.
You may be good in kung fu, but I'm an expert in gun fu.
White man's world away with their guns. And every shot said, no one is gonna own us again. 1 down, 2 to go.
And this starts with a prolonged scene at a karate tournament, which seems to also be a boxing tournament. I'm not quite sure what's going on. What's going on there, Doc? I like the karate, and all of a sudden it gets to 2 guys in the ring just throwing haymakers at each other. Yeah, wearing boxing gloves. Wearing boxing gloves, yeah, and it was like one guy did like a kick at another one. I was thinking, it's more boxing than karate. Yeah, it's a tournament between 2 karate schools, and he runs one of them, right? He runs one of them with Richard Roundtree. I think Richard Roundtree's sort of put some money into it. Well, Richard Roundtree's the promoter. That's it. Yeah, he's the promoter. Yeah, and basically they get screwed over. Joe Spinell is one of them. He's another promoter who holds back on the money, but there's a little guy who owes him $400,000 who doesn't pay out, basically, Mr. Rossi, played by Peter Dane.
Their karate school wins the tournament.
Of course. Jim Kelly's karate school.
It wins, and they don't pay the money.
Yeah. You've got to pay the money. That's what you've agreed to do. And in fact, we see halfway through that the opponents have been putting metal into their boxing gloves, and because the guy has promised, one of the guys has promised Mr. Rossi and Joe Spinell, who plays Joe Spangler in this movie, he's promised them that they're going to win because he owes them $100,000. He's like, don't worry, we're going to win. You're going to get $400,000. Don't worry about it. And they lose. So he's out $100,000. The metal in the boxing gloves doesn't work, and on top of that, the guys are now after them for the money.
Yes, and this obviously adds Richard Roundtree to the cast. He's great in it.
He is great in it.
I really like Richard Roundtree in this role. It's a good film because it starts off with Jim Kelly and Richard Roundtree, and again we don't see the Hammer and Jim Brown until really halfway through the film, do we?
No, Jim Kelly surprisingly gets shot in the opening scenes in the movie.
He gets shot. Richard Roundtree comes and picks him up, and all you know is Jim Kelly's told his girlfriend to give two guys a call, and they're going to come and help him out because they've got some trouble.
Yeah, it's worse than that, isn't it? Because he tells his girl to do it, and what ends up happening is he gets shot twice. His girl gets, well, you don't see it at all, but his girl gets gang raped, or you presume his girl gets gang raped. Yeah. And Richard Roundtree gets like his head stove in with a pipe or something, right?
They both get pretty badly beat. I mean, they have a fight scene where they take a few guys down, which is not difficult one-on-one because they're all fat schlobs.
Yeah.
None of them are very...
Well, they're hillbillies, aren't they? But they're hillbillies working for the mafia.
Yeah. These are...
I mean, I'm assuming Mr. Rossi is an Italian... You know, I'm assuming he's mafioso.
Yeah, he's definitely that sort of guy. I mean, he's a bit down the pecking order, just like his henchmen are quite down the pecking order.
You've got to love Joe Spinell, though, as the greasy money guy. I thought he was phenomenal.
Joe Spinell is fantastic in it. He's just the greasiest. All he wants, he just wants to shag the blonde he's got with him.
He's got a blonde with him, and he's really annoyed that Richard Roundtree has shown up to shake him down for the $400,000 they owe him.
It's great. Richard Roundtree just sort of sits down at the table and he goes, I didn't ask you to sit. Richard Roundtree says, I didn't ask.
Yeah, right.
It's fantastic.
It's amazing. It's really good.
But yeah, they both sort of... I mean, you don't know what's going to happen to him. Jim Kelly's girlfriend shoots the guy that he's having a kung fu fight with. She gets kidnapped by the bad guys, by the slobby henchmen.
And that's where the similarity to 3 the Hard Way kind of is, the whole kidnapping of the woman.
Yep. They take his woman. So, and all of a sudden you see 2 limousines driving through New York City.
Which is awesome.
Awesome. Just fantastic. And of course, you already know, you're going into it knowing it's a Fred Williamson directed film, and he's the star, and Jim Brown's going to be in it. And when they both get out of the limousine, it's just brilliant. It's just great. Both got awesome tashes.
Yeah, they've graduated to having tashes in this movie. Because Fred is tashless in 3 the Hard Way, right?
He is, yeah. I mean, and he makes up for it. 1 down, 2 to go. It's not just a tash. It's got the extra bits at the side.
Oh yeah, it's back with a vengeance, baby.
Oh yeah. He's always got a cigar in his mouth. Almost always.
It's one of the smoothest roles he's ever played in this one. I really loved it.
Yeah, It's good. And he even gives his scar to a dog.
He does. Well, there's a whole little comedy wraparound, isn't there, with him and his dog?
Yeah.
Yeah, because at the end they're all in hospital and there's a comedy bit.
It's so good. They obviously go into the bar that's where Jim Kelly's girlfriend works, isn't it? It's where they made the call from.
Yeah.
So they show up there.
But it's run by the mafia, or by these arseholes. It's kind of run by them, I think.
Yeah, the henchmen are in there. A guy goes over and sort of tells Fred Williamson that don't think about starting any trouble because he's bigger than him. And this guy is big.
Yeah.
He's a big guy. But
didn't he break his cigar or something?
He breaks his cigar.
And I was like, whoa, you don't do that. Yeah.
Stupid bastard.
That alone is a killable offence in a Williamson movie.
Yeah, I mean, even just doing that, if the police came in and saw what he did, because obviously Fred Williamson would probably have this guy's heart in his hand. And
Yeah.
the cop just look at Fred Williamson and go, what did he do? Broke my scar. Fair enough.
Fair enough. Yeah, don't worry about it. In fact, in both these movies, in the first one, we forgot to mention Alex Rocco, who's the inept police chief who's not going to really look too much into what's going on. And in this one, you've got an even older, more inept policeman who won't look into what's going on.
He's a sheriff, and the only reason you know he's a sheriff is because he gets called sheriff, and he's got a very small badge on. You'd think he was just a local alcoholic.
Played by Warrington Winters.
That's my favourite actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was only in 3 movies.
Was he only in 3? These are my 3 favourite movies. What are the other 2?
Sprag, which was a TV movie in 1984.
And The Expendables.
And Not for Publication, in which he played a doorman.
Oh, right, yeah. I mean, he did play the best doorman ever.
Warrington Winters, if you wanted a doorman back in the day, he was your man. But he was great in this. And what's funny is that having a name like Warrington Winters, you would expect I looked that up on IMDb thinking, oh yeah, Warrington Winters, I bet he was like an old vaudevillian or something. Or like an old guy who was like in old movies because he had a name like Warrington Winters and they kind of got him back for this one. But no, he just did 3 movies.
But wasn't he good in it?
He was great in it. He was probably the real sheriff.
Yeah, that's probably why he's only in 3 films.
What about the little guy that Jim Brown threatens at the bank? That's one of my favourite scenes as well. When Jim Brown just grabs his hand. And there's a guy's 3 foot tall, looks like the accountant out of The Untouchables. He's got no hair and big glasses.
He just presses down on his hand, doesn't he?
Yeah. He says, I'm going to say this very quietly.
I think this film, more than any other, was sponsored by Magnum 44.
Yeah, probably.
The gun company, because that is the guns that they use. All of a sudden, I mean, in the bar scene where Fred Williamson takes on the big muscly guy, all of a sudden Jim Brown just pulls out the biggest gun, and everybody sort of says, "Oh, all right, we'll back off."
Yeah,
back off now. It's good. It's good.
I mean, I watched these more or less back to back. I think I watched one night and one the next night. But I think you should definitely see both of them. I think 3 the Hard Way is a better movie in general, just because it's maybe got a little bit more money behind it, maybe, or a little bit more scope. But that being said, the second one has equally enjoyable moments in it, from the turning up in the limousines to the fight scenes to the gun shootout at the end, and it's almost the second one is almost a bit more like a kind of grindhousey exploitation movie. It's got especially with the more violent things that happen. Like at the beginning of 3 the Hard Way, there's no one gets raped or beaten up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of slowly moving into that exploitation area, I think.
You could definitely see that it was a later film. They were going after probably those sort of films were more relevant at that time, so they put a bit more of that in it.
Well, yeah, those revenge movies like I Spit on Your Grave or Last House on the Left and stuff, they'd already come out, so Not that it ever gets that graphic. I'm not saying that. I'm just that.
Oh no! I mean, it cuts away before any of that. It's just
there's not even any nudity or anything. It's just it is what it is.
Yeah, it's just it's a plot tool to get you more angry, sort of, and you just hope that the bad guys get the just desserts.
Well, it's to make it about more than just money. I think if they went around killing a bunch of people over, $400,000, of course, but even so, it would still be like, why are they just killing people over a bit of money? You know what I mean? Whereas in this one, you want them to just fucking break them. And I like the fact, I was really worried. I thought, Roundtree's out of it then. I thought like maybe they'd killed Roundtree or something, but no, he comes back, thankfully.
Yep, they all come back off, and I think it's, I think I said to you earlier, it's got one of the lines, I may not know Kung Fu, but I'm an expert in Gun Fu.
With that fatty in the dojo.
Yeah. And he also says, back off, Mojo, which is heads and tails above any other line in the film. I've just got to use that more now.
Because isn't it a sumo guy or something that comes over and tries to hassle him in the dojo?
Yeah, but he's got his gun already pointing at his stomach, hasn't he?
It's Magnum 44, yeah.
He's just quicker.
You may know Kung Fu, but I know Gun Fu.
Yeah.
I wouldn't cross Williamson. It's too cool. And there's some great shots, like Williamson doing some flair as the director at the end with the where they all line up. And there's a great side shot of all four of their faces. And there's also a similar shot of all the guns lined up in the smoke at the end when they have the shootout.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a perfect action film, beat for beat. It's what you want to see. You know, they are what they are. These two films, they are what they are. There's no pretenses about them. They're action films,
right?
You know, if you want to look at them as blaxploitation films, you can do, but you can just watch them as action films.
I agree.
Which is how it should be. Should just be straight down the line action films.
Yeah, I mean, the one I'm going to put in again will be Three the Hard Way more than this one, but I will definitely watch this one again. It's
I'll definitely. I think they're a great pair just to watch back to back.
They are, and they're not long either. They're like 85 minutes or 82 minutes. I think maybe the second one's maybe a full 90 minutes, but yeah, you watch them back to back. There's no hassle. They make a great double bill.
Yeah, I mean that's it as well. I mean, I think we said before, films, you know, now they have to be 2.5 hours. This is 90 minutes.
Yeah, get in, get out.
Yeah, you've enjoyed yourself.
Do your business.
And that's it. That's what's so great about them. Perfect evening's entertainment. 3 hours will not be wasted.
No, and I think, you know, like Fred was saying in the interview, I think one of his strengths as a director and a producer is being able to get stuff on screen that looks, you know, especially the use of that tournament at the beginning, that's some real production value. Now, okay, it goes on a little long, I might say, but like, if you've got that and you can film it and you can make that exciting up front, you know what I mean? You've got to use it. Like, that's a guy saying, well, okay, we've only got these locations and X amount of money. If we put this up front, it makes it seem like a bigger movie. You know, it's a calculated move, and it's a good thing to do, I think.
I especially don't really think Three the Hard Way really didn't look cheap at all, really.
No, Three the Hard Way, not at all, no.
But then again, 1 down, 2 to go, didn't? I mean, it's huge stars.
Yeah, huge stars, and they film on location, which, you know, is always to a benefit, I think, of these movies, because it's, you know, especially now I live in the States, it's great to see like New York City from the 70s on the screen with 2 fuck-off limousines driving through it, and you just know Fred and Jim are behind the wheel.
Great.
It's all good. And I loved, like, that's the other thing I loved about Three the Hard Way was the location shooting. I thought that really added to it, really blew it out and gave it scope.
I wonder where that bar is.
Where the what, sorry?
Where the bar is in New York.
Oh.
Where they're going to a fist fight.
In 1 down, 2 to go?
Yeah.
Oh, I think what they do is they go upstate. I think they're both from New York, but I think they either go upstate or go out to Long Island, because the rest of the movie is not set there. I think the rest of the movie is set. It's set in the woodlands or the backwaters. So it's probably upstate. I would imagine upstate.
I see.
Or maybe to Connecticut or something. I don't know, but it's definitely out in the sticks rather than in the city.
Maybe Mo knows.
Yeah, it was probably filmed near Mo. Mo lives near some real shitty places. And he himself would admit that.
Well, as long as you can admit it, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I don't know where that tournament is meant to be, but at the beginning, because the bar seems to be off the back of the car park, but I don't know whether it really is or not.
Yeah.
Because he seems to go to the car park, get shot, and then wanders to the bar, so I don't know. But
yeah, because they can't find him for a bit. It takes him a while, doesn't it? I mean, it's quite bad how they sort of get him in the car. He has a conversation with the sheriff, drives off. Poor bastard was in the boot.
Yeah, they have him in the trunk the whole time, and then they get him up to the cabin and they put him on a shitty mattress and bandage it up and go, "I'll be all right." And then Roundtree's like, "I suppose you'll want to be left alone." As if Jim's just like, "Okay, I've just been shot through the shoulder. The one thing I want to do is get my love on."
But he does, because he's Jim Kelly.
Of course he does.
I wouldn't, would you? I mean, that some dirty teenagers must have. Imagine how many teenagers have had sex on that dirty old mattress.
Are you kidding? No, I mean, I wouldn't do it at all. But are you kidding? If I was shot in the shoulder, I would be crying like a child. Yeah. I'd be crying like a little bitch. Yeah. There's no way that you would ever get me to just strap it up and carry on. In fact, he has a whole one-armed fight with a guy the next morning.
Yeah. Not only has he been shot and he's spent from the night before, he just had to have a kung fu fight. It's a good job she shoots him, really. His girlfriend shoots his foe, because he probably just would have just, I can't do it anymore. I'm done.
Yeah.
But good films. Very good films.
Very good films. I love them. I'm a big fan of these movies. And I'm a big fan of the original Gangsters, all of them. I think Roundtree's exceptional. I think Jim Kelly was a phenomenal martial artist and a fun guy on screen. I think Brown and Williamson bring the heavy, bring the fun, bring the attitude. It's all good.
Yep. Yeah, you can't go wrong with their films. They're just fun, and that's what it's all about. Fun. If you can just enjoy yourself watching them, you don't have to make your brain ache. Switch your brain off and just have fun. Watch the bad guys get their arse kicked by some really cool guys.
Yeah. Well, movies used to be about that all through the 80s. I mean, that's why we do the 80s and 90s action films, because that's what they used to be about. You know what I mean?
It's like what Fred Williamson says on the interview. Just integrity, looking good. It's what it's about.
Getting it done.
I think the 80s took a lot from these films. The good guys are there to look shit hot.
Oh, the 80s and 90s, what we would call second-tier action movies, of the likes of, Daniels and Speakman and Dudikoff and even Van Damme and Seagal at a certain point are entirely based on these ideas, which, and to be fair, these ideas are entirely then based on westerns and gangster movies, of the 40s. And it's that simpler form of filmmaking that's just a lot more appealing when you just want enjoyment from something, when you just want to get enjoyment from something. Every movie has to have some element, and I think that the element that these movies have is the star power coupled with the action. I think if you've got one of those two things, you're on your way, and I think Fred's movies have those in abundance.
I agree.
And so that was our coverage of 3 the Hard Way and 1 Down, 2 to Go, the 2 original Jim Brown, Jim Kelly, and Fred Williamson contemporary movies. There was Take the Hard Ride, which we mentioned in the interview, which is a Western, which you should definitely check out as well, because it's good fun. And why not do a double bill of that and Joshua, which is the other Western that Fred was talking about in the interview. So that's another double bill you can go and do. We may even cover them down the road on the Diner, but I know that coming up, we have shows on Richard Roundtree's Shaft series. We are looking to hopefully do either Jim Brown, Slaughter, and Slaughter's Big Ripoff, or maybe Black Gun. We'll be doing an episode on Jim Brown, and then we will be doing a Pam Grier episode. And I'm still trying to work out what we're going to do for the Pam episode. Excellent. You might want to do Bucktown, because obviously she joins forces with Fred in that movie, which is great. So we might want to do that if we want to continue the idea of doing movies with some of the original gangsters in it. And she also joined forces with Bernie Casey in Hitman. So
I've seen that.
Yeah, we might do Hitman and Bucktown as both Bernie and Fred. Of course, will be in Original Gangsters 2, which you should all go and give your hard-earned money to now. Please do, because like you just heard from the interview, he feels like unleashing it over the holidays might have been a mistake. So now the holidays are over. We've got till February. Let's do it now, guys. Let's push it. We've got a month. Let's get it done.
Let's get it made. We all want to see it.
Spike Lee got money. That fucking Zach Braff got money. That Veronica Mars got money. Original Gangsters 2 people. I liked Veronica Mars, the TV series. It was fine. It was okay. It was quirky for what it was as a kind of Buffy-esque ripoff. But, I'd rather see Original Gangsters 2 over any of those movies.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Zach Braff, fuck off. Spike Lee, no, thank you. But, Original Gangsters 2, make it happen, guys. Make it happen.
Is Zach Braff going to go and take on a bunch of bad guys and shoot them? No, he's going to write another film about how we so in love with a girl.
I sat around and I was drippy, and then there was some folk music. The end. Yeah, whereas if you want to see these guys kicking ass... Look, The Expendables made hundreds of millions worldwide, and Original Gangsters 2 is just asking for 1.2. Instead of going out to the movies to see whatever fucking bullshit is out, put that cinema ticket, $15, and put it on Original Gangsters 2. I guarantee you're missing nothing that's in the theatre right now. Absolutely nothing. So instead of going to see The Hobbit, go give the fucking $20, because you'd probably be seeing it in 3D. Go give the $20 to Original Gangsters 2. The Hobbit 2, you don't even need to see The Hobbit 2. Nothing happens, like based on 30 pages of the book or some shit. The waste of time, waste of money. Don't even bother. See the first one and the third one if you have to. Or don't see any of them at all, because who gives a fuck. Let me guess, the midget survives. We already know he does, because he's at the beginning of Lord of the Rings. So it's utterly a pointless...
Oh, you fucking ruined it for me.
Let me guess, he gets the ring and he fights a dragon and don't care. Don't fuck The Hobbit. Don't go and see The Hobbit. Don't go and see Twilight or any of those other movies. Fuck Catching Fire. What are they going to say in the sequel to The Hunger Games that they didn't already see in the first one? Kids, get together. It's futuristic. Elizabeth Banks dresses like a fucking ass and kids get killed. Nobody cares. Original Gangsters 2.
Battle Royale.
Yeah, exactly. Buy the Blu-ray of Battle Royale, or give all your money to Original Gangsters 2. That's what I'm trying to say. Because, guess what? Hunger Games, Hobbit, all those things, they're going to be around for ages and ever and whatever. You're going to be able to watch them a million times over. Who gives a fuck? Who cares?
So just go and support something. Go and do something.
Yeah.
Go and say thank you.
Right.
To the people who created legacies in Hollywood.
Not only that, but you heard from the interview there, Fred is very clear that Hollywood doesn't give a shit. They try and play games. They don't see the worth in these guys. They don't see the worth in the rest of the world. They don't see there is a lot of stuff that you are getting screwed on by constantly and blindly supporting movies in the theatre. Now, look, don't get me wrong, I'm not being down on Hollywood at all. Like, I love Hollywood movies and I love going to the theatre, but sometimes something comes along that's more important than that. And that's this movie, Original Gangsters 2. And you might be like, come on, they already made Original Gangsters. Who needs to see the second one? I need to see the second one. Everyone needs to see the second one. And people need to prove to Fred that there's still life in the old beast and that we can still do this. And that people still want him to do this. Imagine if you were Fred Williamson and you'd done all these amazing movies and all you were asking was 1.2 million, and your fans around the world who, like me, do podcasts and talk about, oh yeah, the Hammer this, the Hammer that, it's amazing, Fred Williamson, blah, 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 or Shaft this, Shaft that, or Jim Brown or Pam Grier, whatever. All those people who talk about all that on all these podcasts and all these fanboys and all these things that I hear, imagine if you didn't support Original Gangsters 2.
You probably feel like shit, and there's every right to.
Yeah, because you're
letting us down.
And before you say, really? Well, I've supported it. So we've supported it. So we're not being hypocrites. We put our money where our mouth is. So now it's your turn. Seriously, I'm going to say this every episode. I'm doing 4 episodes. That's how much I believe in this movie. I'm doing an entire month's worth of programming on this movie, and then going on to Schlock Treatment in February. And doing a Pam Grier episode. They're doing blaxploitation movies throughout the month of February. I'm doing another episode where I will mention Original Gangsters 2. I'm not going to let up, guys. This is all you got for the next few weeks. So let's make it happen.
Do it.
And with that, sir, I'd like to say thank you ever so much. This has been an evening for the ages.
Oh, it's been amazing. It's been amazing.
I've loved every minute of it. And I can't believe it. That's one to tell the grandkids. That's one to tell the kids.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to go and wake them up now.
Do. Wake them up, sit them down in front of 3 the hard way and 1 down, 2 to go. And if they say, but Dad, we've got school tomorrow, you just say to them, don't worry, girls, you are learning everything you will ever need in life from these 2 films.
Is one of them lights up a cigar? Except that. Don't do that.
You can only do that if your first name's Fred and your last name's Williamson.
I still can't believe we talked to Fred Williamson.
I know. Absolutely incredible. You know, beforehand I was saying to you, I was like, it's like we were about to pick up the phone and talk to Elvis. You know what I mean? He's iconic.
He's so legendary in the film world. And we were just chatting with him.
Yep. So I'm not just doing 4 episodes on this show, I'm doing 4 episodes over at Dr. X and the Kick-Ass Kid as well. That's how much we both care about these guys and want to see this movie. And in researching it, there are some great movies out there. There are some really fun,
There is a lot more than you can think of.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, yeah,
It's amazing how many films.
I mean, I was, to try and find them is difficult, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of them are to rent, though. A lot of them to rent on Amazon, a lot of them to see on Netflix or Hulu or, pay a little bit of money and get the DVD delivered or whatever. You can normally get them secondhand for $4 or $5.
Yeah.
So let's wrap it up then. So good show, fantastic times. Thanks ever so much for that. I will never believe that happened, but it happened, so that was great.
I've got to thank you, man. Thank you for letting me take part in that. So cool.
Of course, man. Of course.
Speak to you later, then.
All right, Chief. Bye now.
Later. Bye.
Moustache. Underneath it sits a cigar. She's in the coolest threads around. He's driving in the sweetest car. Well, you know there's trouble brewing if he rides into your town, and he's gonna bring the hammer down. But you'll never bring the hammer down, no. Well, he's the hero that you want and the hero that you need. If you cry Crowson or anyone he knows. He'll make you and your cohorts bleed. When it's him and his two friends, Jim, you know they're the baddest dudes around. And he's gonna bring the hammer down. But you'll never bring the hammer down, no. If I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning, I'd hammer in the evening, all over this land. Well, I'd hammer out danger, yeah. I'd hammer out a warning, yeah. I'd hammer out love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land. And he'll always live to win another fight another day. And Hollywood needs to listen up and give the gangsters one more round. And he's gonna bring the hammer down, but you'll never bring the hammer down. Yeah, he's gonna bring the hammer down, but you'll never bring Fred Williamson down. No. Down, but you can never bring the hammer down. Yeah. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah. When it's him and his two friends, Jim, you know they're the baddest dudes around. And he's gonna bring the hammer down, but you'll never bring the hammer down. Time. Like the show? Well, you can find our complete podcast archive over at amdpodcast.blogspot.com or aftermoviediner.com. You can send us an email at aftermoviediner@gmail.com, tweet us at aftermoviediner, or follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/aftermoviediner. Or why not be a part of the show and leave us a voicemail over at speakpipe.com/aftermoviediner. You can also support the show a number of ways, by spreading the word to family, friends and co-workers, by writing us a review over at iTunes or TalkShoe, by purchasing some excellent diner merchandise over at cafepress.com/aftermoviediner, by donating on our website, by advertising with our website, or maybe you're a regular Amazon user. If so, then before you make a purchase, go to amdpodcast.blogspot.com, aftermoviediner.blogspot.com, or aftermoviediner.com and click through the Amazon banner ads. It costs you nothing extra, but they throw us a few coins for the trouble. Or, like the movies we cover, then buy them over at our personal Amazon store, also on amdpodcast.blogspot.com. Really, thanks everybody for everything you continue to do, and please keep listening.
There are men, and then there are second unit podcast men. The podcast you've just been listening to is part of the Second Unit Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at 2upn.blogspot.com or on Facebook under the Second Unit Podcast Network. Our fantastic list of shows include Drunk on VHS, We Came from the Basement, No Budget Nightmares, The After Movie Diner, Dr. Action and the Kick-Ass Kid, and Bloodbaths and Boomsticks. Take one podcast into the shower. Don't be a blithering idiot, Alan. We can give you the multiple podcast cleansing system all in one place that your hair deserves. Our programming is available across all platforms, from iTunes to Podomatic, TalkShoe to Stitcher, so you have absolutely no excuse. Listen today, and a free naked person of your choice will be shipped from Thailand to your door in a matter of weeks. The Second Unit Podcast Network, bringing you the action and leaving the boring stuff to the other guys. Bloody hell. Who does a girl have to blow around here to get a decent beverage?